Now we will define different type of the vectors. First is zero vector. Zero vector is the vector which has magnitude equal to 0 and direction is indeterminate, and it is used for consistency of the vector algebra. For example, if we subtract a vector A from itself, then the result will also a vector, because result is 0 and it should be a vector. That's why we are introduced here the zero vector. Another is unit vector. Unit vector is a vector which has magnitude equal to 1 or unit and has direction. For example, if a vector A is given, then its unit vector is represented by A with a cap. This cap represents the unit vector. This unit vector A is defined as vector A divided by its magnitude. So it will give a vector which has unit magnitude and the direction as of the vector A. Three specific unit vectors I, J and K, and these unit vectors are along x-axis, y-axis and z-axis respectively in a three-dimensional coordinate system. So I is along x-axis, similarly J represents the y-axis and K is along the z-axis. A vector can be represented in terms of its unit vectors as AXI, where AX is a component of vector A along the x-axis, plus AY and unit vector J. AY is the component of vector A along the y-axis and direction is represented by J along the y-axis. Similarly, for component along z-axis is AZ and the vector direction is represented by K. So a vector in terms of a unit vector can be represented as A equal to AXI plus AYJ plus AZK. And the magnitude of this vector A can be calculated as square root of AX square plus AY square plus AZ square. This formula will be derived later when we will discuss the dot product. Let's do one problem. Problem is, if a unit vector is represented by 0.5i minus 0.8j plus ck, then find the value of c. Here vector is given as 0.5i minus 0.8j plus ck. The magnitude of the vector A is equal to square root of a square plus ay square plus az square as mentioned earlier. So it will be equal to square root of 0.5 square plus minus of 0.8 square plus c square. So it will be equal to square root of 0.25 plus 0.64 plus c square, that is equal to 0.89 plus c square. And as per the question, this is a unit vector. So magnitude of vector A should be 1. This implies that square root of 0.89 plus c square is equal to 1, or we can say 0.89 plus c square is equal to 1. On squaring the both sides, it will give c square equal to 1 minus 0.89, that is equal to 0.11. So c will be equal to plus minus square root of 0.11. This is the answer. Equal vectors. Vectors A and B are equal vectors if they have same magnitude, that is magnitude of A is equal to magnitude of B and direction are also same. Like vectors are the vectors which have same direction. Similarly, unlike vectors are the vector which has opposite directions. Sixth is negative vector. Negative vector have same magnitude as of given vector but opposite direction. For example, if given vector is A, then its negative vector will be minus A. Parallel vectors. These vectors are parallel to each other, that is, may in same direction or opposite direction. They are also called the collinear vectors if they are along the same line. And coplanar vectors are the vectors which lie in same plane, and plane is two-dimensional. For example, xy plane, yz plane, zx plane in three-dimensional coordinate system. For collinear vectors, we have to note that if two vectors, say A and B, are collinear, it means they are along the same line. That means it may be in same direction or it may be in opposite direction. Then their resultant will be maximum. Say resultant is R. So R is max and it will be given by magnitude of vector A plus magnitude of vector B when they are in same direction. And their resultant will be minimum and it will be given by vector A difference vector B when they are in opposite direction. Note 2, if three collinear vectors, say A, B and C, has their sum equal to 0, then this implies that sum of any two vectors will be equal to the magnitude of third vector. That means if one vector is A along the line and another is also along the same line, then third vector will be opposite to make the total sum equal to 0. Note 3, if three non-collinear vectors, earlier we were talking about the collinear vectors which were along the same line either in same direction or in opposite direction. Here we are discussing the three non-collinear vectors, say vector A, vector B and vector C, and they sum up to 0. This implies that these vectors will represent the side of a triangle. That means if one of the vector is A, another vector is B, then third vector will form the C. Then in this case, the resultant is 0. Detail will be discussed when we will talk about the addition of the vectors. So this combination of the three non-collinear vector will give the sum 0. That means they will represent the sides of a triangle, and this implies that sum of two of vector magnitudes will be greater than the magnitude of third vector. So these are some important points that to be memorized.